Are we nearly there yet? Are we? Are we?
Nearly where, Luna?
Nearly space, silly. Where else would we be going?
Technically, we are already in space. The Star Chaser is orbiting Earth right now.
But we're not exploring yet. Exploring is the fun part.
Don't worry, Luna, the fun is just about to start. Right, Stella.
Indeed. Our course is locked, our snacks are loaded, and I have finished my pre-flight wing polish. We are ready for adventure.
This is the coolest spaceship in the galaxy. Don't you think so, Stella?
It is certainly efficient and colorful.
Guys, come look. We're leaving. We're really leaving.
All right, team, time for our pre-flight check.
Check.
Fuel levels optimal, engine temperature nominal, emergency cookies accounted for.
Excellent. Luna, countdown, please.
You bet. 10, 9, 8. We being weightless is the best.
Suddenly, a new sound cut through the hum of the spaceship, and Luna's giggles. It was a strange sound, a series of high-pitched bloops followed by a low, rumbling groan.
Bloop growin', bloop growin'.
What's that noise?
Yeah, what is that? Sounds like a space monster with hiccups.
Stella, her antennae vibrating with intensity, pressed her ear against a speaker. Her three eyes blinked rapidly as she analyzed the strange signal.
Bloop growin', bloop growin'.
It appears to be some kind of distress call. The pattern is unlike anything in our database.
Max's grip tightened on the controls. He was a responsible pilot, but he was also an adventurer at heart. A distress call, especially one as weird as this, was too intriguing to ignore.
A distress call? You mean someone out there needs our help? This is even better than finding a planet made of space ice cream.
Okay, team. Looks like our exploration just got a whole lot more interesting. Stella, can you pinpoint the source of that signal? The signal appears to be originating from that uncharted system. Preliminary analysis suggests a high probability of, well, something interesting.
Max squinted at the blinking light. It pulsed with an eerie green glow. He had a good feeling about this.
Interesting, huh? All right, Luna, set a course for that system. Let's go see what's what.
Aye, aye, Captain Max.
With a few expertly placed taps on the control panel, she adjusted their trajectory. The Star Chaser veered off course, heading towards the unknown. As they approached the uncharted system, a planet, unlike any they had seen before, swam into view. It was a swirl of vibrant colors, a cosmic kaleidoscope of purples, oranges, and blues. It looked like someone had taken a giant paintbrush and gone wild.
Wow, look at that. It's even more colorful than Stella's sock collection.
Stella, for once, didn't bother correcting Luna's inaccurate comparison. Her sock collection was, after all, a carefully curated spectrum of stripes and polka dots. Even she had to admit, this planet was something special.
That is the coolest planet I've ever seen. Let's call it Planet Zoom.
Planet Zoom, I love it. It sounds super fast and super fun, just like this adventure.
The Star Chaser, engines humming with anticipation, entered Planet Zoom's atmosphere. The air crackled with a strange energy, making their fur stand on end. Through the swirling clouds, they could just make out the planet's surface, a landscape that promised wonders beyond their wildest dreams.
Get ready, team, we're going in.
With a gentle bump, the Star Chaser touched down on the alien soil. Outside, the strange distress call continued, closer now, more urgent.
Bloop growin', bloop growin'.
Adventure awaited.
The Star Chaser shuddered as its landing gear met the surface of Planet Zoom. It wasn't the smoothest landing Max had ever made, but he managed to bring the spaceship down in one piece, which, considering the terrain, was a feat in itself.
Whoa, I've had smoother rides on a space slug.
Outside the viewport, the strange landscape of Planet Zoom stretched before them. It was like nothing they had ever seen before. The ground seemed to ripple and pulse, and the few plants they could see were a bizarre mix of shapes and colors. Giant luminous flowers bloomed with an eerie glow, casting strange shadows across the undulating terrain.
This planet is weird.
Stella, ever the scientist, was already scanning their surroundings with a handheld device that resembled a brightly colored bug zapper.
My initial readings indicate that this planet is composed of a highly unstable form of matter. It appears to be, well, wobbling.
Luna, who had unbuckled her safety harness and was now peering out of the viewport with wide eyes, giggled.
Wobbling? This whole planet is like a giant jelly.
Max, ever cautious, decided to proceed with caution. He wasn't entirely sure he liked the idea of exploring a planet that wobbled. It seemed a bit too unpredictable, even for him.
Okay, team, let's stick together and be careful. We don't know what we're dealing with here.
Luna, her earlier excitement somewhat dampened by Max's cautious tone, nodded in agreement.
Right, safety first. But can we still jump on the wobbly bits?
Before Max could answer, the ground beneath their feet gave a sudden lurch, sending the Star Chaser toppling onto its side. Luna squealed with a mixture of alarm and delight.
See? Wobbly bits. This is going to be fun.
Max, rubbing his bruised elbow, wasn't so sure. He extricated himself from the cockpit and surveyed their surroundings. The ground was even more unstable than he had first thought. It felt like they were walking on a giant waterbed, and with every step, the ground rippled and undulated beneath their feet.
Bloop, grew in.
The strange distress call, closer now, echoed across the bizarre landscape. It seemed to be coming from a cluster of giant, pulsating blobs that lay ahead of them.
What are those things?
The blobs, a kaleidoscope of vibrant colors, pulsed and throbbed in a mesmerizing rhythm. They looked like giant soap bubbles, their surfaces shimmering with an iridescent glow.
Stella, her antennae twitching with scientific curiosity, approached the closest blob cautiously. She held out her bug zapper-like device, its lights blinking as it analyzed the strange life form.
Fascinating. These life forms appear to be composed of pure energy. I've never encountered anything like it before.
As she spoke, the blob before them suddenly stretched out a long gelatinous arm, its end forming into a crude hand. The hand waved at them in a gesture that could only be interpreted as friendly.
Hello?
Max said, raising a hand cautiously in greeting. The blob, as if in response to his greeting, pulsed with a deep, resonant, thrumming sound. Then, to their astonishment, it spoke.
Greetings, small travelers. We are the Blobians, and we require your assistance.
Luna, who had been hiding behind Max, peeked out from her hiding place.
You can talk?
The Blobian chuckled, a sound like 1,000 bubbles popping in unison.
Of course, we can talk. We are not mindless blobs, you know.
You're the ones who sent the distress call.
The Blobian nodded, its entire form rippling with the movement.
Indeed, we are in need of your help. Our world is dying. Dying? But how can a planet made of jelly die?
The Blobian sighed, a long, drawn-out sound like air escaping a balloon.
Our world is not made of jelly, young one. It is made of pure energy, a delicate balance of forces that is now failing.
But why? What happened?
The Blobian hesitated, its form pulsing slowly.
It is a long and complicated story. But to put it simply, we fear that someone, or something, is draining our planet's energy.
Luna, ever impatient, bounced on the balls of her feet.
So what do we do? How can we help?
The Blobian extended a long, wobbly arm towards them, its end morphing into a hand with 3 stubby fingers.
You must help us find the source of the drain before it's too late.
Max, ever brave, stepped forward and shook the Blobian's hand. It was an odd sensation, like shaking hands with a giant, sticky marshmallow.
We'll do what we can.
And so, the Starlight Explorers found themselves on a quest to save a dying planet made of pure energy. Max, Luna, and Stella followed the Blobian, who introduced himself as Blork, across the wobbling landscape. The further they traveled from their landing site, the stranger and more unstable the terrain became. Giant, luminous plants swayed precariously around them, their colors shifting and pulsing in the strange light.
Are you sure you know where we're going?
Max asked, his voice barely a whisper above the squelching sound of their footsteps. He had to admit he was starting to feel a little uneasy. This whole planet felt like it could dissolve into a giant puddle of cosmic goo at any moment. Blork, who was leading the way with surprising agility for a creature of his size and consistency, chuckled, a sound like 1,000 jelly molds being walloped in unison.
Fear not, young explorers. My instincts are never wrong. The source of the energy drain lies ahead.
Luna, ever eager for adventure, skipped ahead, her purple boots leaving glowing footprints in the spongy ground.
This is so cool. It's like walking on a giant trampoline.
Stella, ever cautious, trailed behind, her antennae twitching as she scanned their surroundings with her bug zapper-like device.
My readings indicate a high concentration of energy, just beyond that cluster of pulsating fungi.
She announced, pointing a long, slender finger towards a group of glowing mushrooms that resembled giant, throbbing brains.
Following Stella's directions, they carefully navigated their way through the pulsating fungi forest. The air grew thick with a sweet, sickly smell, and the ground pulsated beneath their feet with increasing intensity.
Do you ever get the feeling that we're being followed?
Max couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He whispered to Luna, his hand hovering over the laser pistol attached to his belt. He knew it was probably just his nerves, but something about this place didn't feel right.
Now that you mention it, I thought I heard something squishing behind us.
Before Max could reply, Blork stopped abruptly, his entire form rippling with alarm.
We are here.
They had arrived at the foot of a towering rock formation that resembled a giant melting sundae. At its base, hidden amongst the pulsating fungi, was a dark, ominous-looking cave. The air around the cave crackled with energy, and a faint humming sound emanated from within.
This is it. The source of the energy drain.
Max, Luna and Stella cautiously approached the cave entrance. The humming sound grew louder as they drew closer, and the air shimmered with an eerie green glow.
What is that noise?
Before anyone could answer, a giant, gelatinous blob, larger than any they had seen before, oozed out of the cave. It pulsated with a sickly green light, and its surface was covered in what looked like spark plugs.
Whoa, what is that thing?
Blork, who had shrunk back behind the explorers, his form trembling, whimpered.
That is Glop. He is the source of our troubles.
Glop, his entire form crackling with stolen energy, let out a triumphant cackle.
Foolish Blobians. You thought you could stop me from harnessing the power of your pathetic planet. Think again.
Luna, never one to be intimidated, stepped forward, her hands on her hips.
Hey Glop, it's not very nice to steal someone else's energy. It's rude.
Glop, momentarily taken aback by Luna's audacity, stared at her with his single, giant eye. Then, he let out a booming laugh that shook the very foundations of Planet Zoom.
You think you can stop me, little girl? I am Glop, the most powerful being in the galaxy, and soon, with the energy of this planet, I will be unstoppable.
The spark plugs that covered his body began to pop and fizzle, showering the ground with sparks. No, no, my power, it's fading, Max yelled, seizing his chance. He raced towards Glop, dodging a flailing tentacle and aimed his laser pistol at the nearest spark plug. But before Max could fire, Glop let out an ear-splitting shriek. His form, which had been shimmering with stolen energy, began to flicker and fade. Gotcha! Quick as a flash, Luna pulled a handful of glowing pebbles from her pocket and hurled them at Glop. The pebbles exploded on impact, showering the giant blob in a shower of sparkling dust. Stella, ever resourceful, grabbed her bug zapper-like device and aimed it at Glop's eye. A beam of concentrated light shot out, temporarily blinding the giant blob. Luna, Stella, create a distraction. I'll try to get those spark plugs off him. Maybe that's how he's draining the energy. Max, realizing they needed to act fast, drew his laser pistol. It might not be much against a creature like Glop, but it was all they had. Max, Luna and Stella watched in astonishment as Glop shrunk and shrunk until he was nothing more than a small, harmless blob of jelly, whimpering on the ground.
What happened? Luna asked, her eyes wide with wonder. Did we do that?
Stella, examining her bug zapper-like device, nodded. It appears that my device overloaded Glop's energy absorption system, she explained, pushing her goggles up her nose. The spark plugs amplified the energy he was stealing, but they also made him vulnerable to energy surges.
Blork, who had cautiously emerged from behind the explorers, his form no longer trembling, let out a cheer. "You did it!" he boomed, his voice filled with relief and gratitude. "You saved our planet!"
Sure enough, as Glop's energy dissipated, the wobbling of the planet subsided. The colors of the plants became less intense, settling into a gentler, more natural palette. The air, no longer thick with strange energy, felt fresh and clean.
The Blobians, who had gathered at a safe distance, erupted in a chorus of cheers and applause. They surged forward, surrounding the explorers in a sea of jiggling, pulsating gratitude.
Max, Luna, and Stella, hailed as heroes of Planet Zoom, laughed and celebrated with the Blobians. They had faced a giant energy-stealing blob and won. And as Max looked around at the grateful faces of the Blobians, he knew that this, their latest cosmic adventure, would be a tale they'd tell for light years to come. For they were the Starlight Explorers, and the galaxy was full of surprises. The Star Chaser, its red hull gleaming in the now gentle light of Planet Zoom's sun, stood ready for departure. Max, Luna, and Stella stood at the top of the boarding ramp, waving goodbye to their new Blobian friends.
Blork, his form rippling with emotion, extended a long, wobbly arm towards them. "Farewell, young explorers," he boomed, his voice echoing across the now stable landscape. "You will always be remembered as heroes of Planet Zoom."
Luna, her eyes brimming with tears, blew a kiss to Blork. "We'll miss you, Blork," she cried. "Come visit us in the Milky Way sometime." Max, ever practical, patted Blork's gelatinous arm. "We'll be sure to tell everyone we know about Planet Zoom," he promised. "You guys are the coolest blobs in the galaxy."
Stella, her antennae twitching thoughtfully, presented Blork with a small, intricately crafted device that resembled a miniature disco ball. "This is for you," she explained. "It's a miniature energy stabilizer. It should prevent any further energy drains." Blork, his single eye glowing with gratitude, accepted the gift with a trembling hand. "Thank you, Stella," he boomed, his voice thick with emotion. "You are a true friend."
As the Star Chaser lifted off, the Blobians erupted in a chorus of farewells, their voices echoing through the air like 1,000 popping bubbles. Max, Luna, and Stella watched from the cockpit as Planet Zoom, its vibrant colors now a distant memory, shrunk from view. The Star Chaser hummed peacefully as it sped through the vast emptiness of space, heading back towards Earth. Max, at the helm, expertly navigated around a cluster of asteroids that resembled giant cosmic potatoes.
Luna, unable to contain her excitement, was busy recounting their adventure to a captive audience of stuffed space creatures. "So there we were," she exclaimed, her voice echoing through the cockpit, face to face with this giant energy-stealing blob. And guess what? He had spark plugs growing out of his head.
Stella, who was floating upside down near the ceiling, her 3 eyes fixed on a star chart, sighed. Luna, for the 100th time, Glop did not have spark plugs growing out of his head. They were attached to his general blob-like form.
Luna, undeterred, rolled her eyes. Details, Stella, you're missing the point. The point is, we saved the day. We were heroes."
Max, a thoughtful expression on his face, chuckled. "She's got a point, Stella. We did good back there."
Stella, her antennae twitching in a gesture that could only be interpreted as a shrug, conceded the point. "Yes, we did," she agreed. "It was a most stimulating experience. I've already updated my database with all the new data I collected. The Blobians are a fascinating species. Their energy-based physiology is unlike anything I've ever encountered." Luna, who had momentarily lost interest in her stuffed creatures, drifted closer to Stella. "Do you think we'll ever see them again?" she asked, her voice filled with hope.
Max, his gaze fixed on the vast expanse of space before them, smiled. "Who knows, Luna?" he said, his voice filled with the endless possibilities of the cosmos. "The galaxy is a big place, but one thing's for sure, we'll never forget them." As the Star Chaser sped towards Earth, a tiny blue and green jewel against the backdrop of a million twinkling stars, Max, Luna, and Stella fell silent, each lost in their own thoughts. They had faced their fears, solved a cosmic mystery, and made some extraordinary new friends. They had learned that even the strangest, most alien-looking creatures could be kind and courageous. They had learned that even the smallest among us could make a big difference. And they had learned that the universe was full of wonders, just waiting to be discovered. Their adventure on Planet Zoom was over, but they knew that their journey as Starlight Explorers was far from finished. The galaxy was vast, its mysteries endless, and they couldn't wait to see what adventures awaited them next. For they were Max, Luna, and Stella, and they were ready to explore the stars.
Thank you for watching Starlight Explorers Cosmic Adventures in Claymation. We hope you enjoyed the journey and look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Stay tuned for more cosmic adventures.